to the show!
Hey guys, this is Matt Starr from Ace Frehley, and you're watching Rock and Roll All Night.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Rock and Roll All Night. Today we have Matt Starr, and for you, those of you who do not know of Matt Starr or are familiar with Matt Starr, he's a world-class drummer. He's been in a ton of stuff. He's played with a ton of musicians and a bunch of bands, Hookers and Blow, Mr. Big, Beautiful Creatures, Black Swan. He's worked with Kevin Dubrow and Lynn Turner, Dizzy Reed, and Ace Frehley. Those are just a few that he's been with, but he's been with many bands. So in 2020, you joined Black Swan. Can you tell us about Black Swan?
Yeah, sure. I got a call from Jeff Pilson, and we had met a few years earlier and just kind of chatted, connected. We'd see each other around town, and he had said, "Hey, I got this new record that I'm doing with Red Beach and Robin McCauley, and wondering if you would like to play drums." And so, the short answer is, well, yeah. But you always want to hear it because you never know. You could have a bunch of great players, and it just may be like cool, but not great, And so I was definitely, wanted to do it, but when he sent me the music, I was just like, wow, these songs are just great. And Robin's voice and the composition with Reb and Jeff is really killer. And so, yeah, we did the record and did it in a few days at Jeff's place. Jeff produced, and it was a lot of fun working out the tunes with Jeff because, I grew up a Dokken fan. So I used to play to those records, the first few records. And the kick drum patterns and the way Mick Brown would kind of work things out. When I worked things out with Jeff, we talked about a part. His instincts were very similar to that. So it was like this. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I know. I get where we're coming from on that. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I think we all again felt good about it. But then when we all heard it back with the drums on it, we were like, wow, this is really good. And the response has been great.
I mean, it's one of my favorite CDs of 2020. The song "Big
Awesome.
Disaster" and the vocals and the drums and the music on that. I mean, the lyrics: "The hurricane you're after is gonna lead to a big disaster." It's just a killer tune, and a bunch of stuff on that CD that's really good. What's next for Black Swan?
Well, there's talk of a second record, which is really exciting. And with the pandemic, it was unfortunate timing because we started getting calls from managers, other bands that wanted to take us out on tour, booking agents that wanted to send us out. And it was a couple things, one in particular that would have been a killer, perfect fit and just so amazing, and friends of ours and everything. But it just all got put on hold. So sounds like there'll be a new record sooner than later. And then once that's together, we'll see what happens as far as playing live. I think we all have the same feeling, which is sure, love to, just a matter of scheduling and what the budget looks like.
That would be cool. I would love to see you guys live. I mean, the band just sounds so awesome. What's your favorite track on that CD?
I mean, honestly, they're all great and they're all different. But A Big Disaster is a great one. And then there's another one called, I think, Johnny Comes Marching Home, or Johnny Comes Marching. And that was a pretty heavy vocal or lyric. Great story. And a really cool group. But Big Disaster was the first one I heard, and it was the first one I recorded, and then consequently the first one that got released. And I love that kind of I call it the glam rock beat, boom, boom,
Yes.
that kind of thing. I love that groove, so that was fun.
And Shake the World, the drums on that in the beginning are just killer.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was Jeff's. You're gonna go boom,
I
boom.
mean,
I have all this
you were
reverb. It's
slamming
gonna
them.
be fucking huge. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
So Shake the World is one of my favorite CDs of 2020, but you're on another one that's one of my favorites in 2020. Actually, my favorite CD of 2020, which is Origins Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
And you play on every single track on that, except you don't play on the bonus track She. Why is that? The other guys are on there, and it would have been awesome to have all
Go,
of the guys
go.
from Ace Frehley's band on there. So what happened?
I agree. I found out after the fact. I think Ace spoke with either Ryan or maybe Jeremy. It was like, "Hey, I can do this," and I think maybe they wanted to just get their buddy on the track, and he played a great track. I mean, it sounds great. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I'm grateful to have been on all the other tracks. So
Yeah, it's a great CD. It's one of my favorite. The song Manic Depression, which I thought
hmm
came out really good. Bruce Kulick is on
yeah,
that. Did you get a chance to work with
Bruce.
Bruce on that, or is that more of a separate, you record in separate places, or how does that work?
It's separate, but I've known Bruce for a few years, and we've played at some different events together, and we did some recording together, and actually played on a track with him and his wife Lisa for one of their Christmas records. So we've known each other for a while. Bruce is super talented, super cool guy, and so on this we didn't play together, but having played with him, you hear it back. You kind of just you know what it's like to play with him. So it feels like a little more like you did play at the same time,
Right.
But I thought he played great.
Yeah, no, that was great. I thought it was cool to have the two of them playing on there. It was really cool. Both the Kiss guys, going back and forth. So it was really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
You first worked with Ace on the Anomaly tour. How did you first meet Ace, and then how did you get hooked up with that tour?
I had a friend call me, and I had been in LA for a little bit. A friend called me and said, "Hey, Ace's drummer just quit, and so you should go get that gig." And I was like, "Yeah, I should." So I just called everybody I knew, and actually Brent Woods, who was a guitar player for Sebastian Bach's band, said, "Oh yeah, I know Anthony Esposito, who was the
Yeah.
bass player at the time." And so he called Anthony and said, "I know this drummer. He also sings. He'd be really cool in the band." And I talked to Anthony, and I flew to New York a couple weeks later, auditioned with Anthony and Todd Youth, no Ace, and we did a few songs. I sang Love Gun and a few other things, and then a couple weeks later, got the call, got the gig.
That's cool. And what was it like the first time meeting Ace Frehley?
It was great. It was like something like, I think it's the In the Night video, but we're hanging out. They rehearsed at the Gibson showroom, which was the old Hit Factory in Manhattan. And so we're hanging out in the street, and then we see this dude kind of coming down the road with a guitar in his hand, and Anthony said to his tech, like, "Hey, isn't that your boss?" And he's like, "Oh," and he runs up and grabs a guitar. But it was just like Ace strolling down the road, and again, like sort of like he is in that video. But it was great. He said, I guess you're the new drummer." I said, "Yeah, hey, good to meet you." And then away we went, and that was it.
Right, yeah, because you worked with him a lot since then. Now, you've been a Kiss fan for a long time. What was it like to be working with Ace? Was that like just blowing your mind to be on stage with him and just rocking out all the time?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I've had that experience, fortunately, on a few different occasions with different artists, and it's always like surreal, and then at the same time, it's like, well, no, of course I am. Like, this is what I was meant to do,
Right.
And so like it's been helpful talking to some of my friends from home, because they would be like, "You're playing with who? What? Dude, we used to jump around your room and pretending we were them, and now you're in the fucking band with. And so to get their response, it's like, yeah, I got to remember that, because again, this is part of my job, and
Right.
it's always exciting, and I'm always grateful, but like, I can't be freaking out. I got to work.
Right,
So
exactly.
it's nice to kind of like see it reflected back from my hometown friends.
Right. I would imagine it would be like a dream come true, but like you said, it's your gig, so it's not like you can't be a fanboy. You've got to do your thing, and so I think that's pretty awesome. I would love to have a childhood dream like that come true. In
Yeah,
2014,
it is great. I say I waited, I think it was like 6 years, and a friend of mine plays bass in Government Mule. His name is Jürgen Carlson, and he's a huge Kiss fan. And he goes, and he was always say, you got to get Ace to sign a record for me. And like I kept forgetting, so I brought him a record during one of our recording sessions. I said, would you sign this to my friend Jürgen? He goes, yeah, of course, whatever you want. And I was like, I haven't asked him for an autograph in 6 years. It kind of didn't cross my mind. Or I was like, I'll do it later. I'll see him next time. I want to, we're working, whatever. So anyway, yeah. So that's kind of how much I've just, been like chill about it. But I did have him sign my my Japanese 1978 pressing of his solo album. So I do have that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. So I got one.
In 2014, you played drums on every track of Space Invader. And it's very rare. Ace usually doesn't have one drummer on the album. So how did that come out that you played the entire CD? Because I know only Anton Fig and Jamie Oldacre, I think, are the only two that have actually played on an entire album.
Yeah, it was. It just happened organically. We had my son Xander. My wife had him. We were in hospital, and the third day we were going to go back home, and he called me the day before and said, hey, I got the studio up in Turlock, which I never heard of before. It was up near San Francisco, and he goes, I want to go check it out. You want to come up there and maybe play some tunes, like record a little bit or whatever? I said, yeah. I go, well, we're in the hospital. He goes, what are you doing? I go, well, we're in the hospital. You just had a baby. He goes, oh, well, do you want to come out and play? And I said to my wife, I go, and when we're going home the next day, and she goes, yeah, you got to work. You got to go. So then like he and I are hanging on, and like 4 days later, we're in the studio. He goes, hey, did you say you had a baby? I was like, yeah. He goes, oh my God, congratulations. Like it took a while for it to kind of register. But anyway, that's how it started. So, we went in there and he just wanted to check out the studio. And the first thing we did was the Joker, Steve Miller cover. And he goes, do you know the Joker? I said, yeah, I think so. And so we played it, and then that was it. Next time I saw him, he goes, that track's going to be great. That's the first single. I said, what? I'm like, that was a recording session? We were just kind of messing around. So, but that's how it happened. We did it over the course of a few sessions, over the course of a few months. And yeah, so it just happened organically. I kept saying like, hey, so is Anton, you going to have Anton playing a record? He's like, I don't know. We'll see. And I felt like he was just kind of checking me out, and if everything went smooth, maybe he doesn't call Anton. And then if things didn't go so smooth, maybe he needs to call somebody. But went smooth, and here we are.
Yeah, so that was great. You ended up being on the whole CD, which is, like only three or four of his albums have one drummer on the entire CD. So that's a pretty cool spot to be in.
Yeah, it's great.
The next album you worked on with him was Origins Volume 1, and you were on three tracks on that.
Right.
It's Street Fighting Man, Fire and Water, and Rock and Roll Hell.
Yeah.
Now, so is it the same way? It just happens organically? Like, how do you just get on 3 as opposed to the whole album? Does he like call you up or?
Yeah, honestly, I was playing with Mr. Big during that time. I played with Mr. Big for 5 years. So there were a couple times he called and said, hey, can you record? And I'm like, I'm going to be on the road. And so, then I wasn't able to do it. So his touring drummer, Scott, played on it. So that's how I ended up. But I ended up on the track with Paul Stanley. So
yes, which I was just going to ask you, how super cool was that? Do you get to work with
again,
Paul, or is it all? It's all done separately, right? Is that?
Yeah, but Ace and I recorded the song and then sent it to Paul, and him and his engineer tracked the vocals. But when I heard it back, it was just cool to hear my voice and then my drums and then Paul's voice over top. I'm like, hey, that's Paul Stanley. It's like, yeah, no shit.
That's really cool.
It was cool. And I don't think I've really heard Paul sing a cover song on a recording. I mean, I know Kiss did a Dave Clark 5 and, maybe one or two covers here and there, but like, a song that I Free's one of my favorite bands. So to hear him sing that song, and it was cool.
Right. Now, you weren't in the video. Is that because you were on the road, or Scott? I know because Scott was in the video.
No, I just think they were on the road. They shot that in LA at the Roxy, and they were on the road. And so it's like everyone's together. So let's just shoot the video.
Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then in 2018, you played on Spaceman with Ace Frehley. 3 tracks, Rockin' with the Boys, Quantum Flux, and I Want to Go Back. Out of those 3,
Yeah.
what would you say was your favorite out of those 3?
Well, I'd say the Eddie Money cover, Want to Go Back, because Rockin' with the Boys is really cool. Quantum Flux, I think I actually did that, like we did that on an earlier session, maybe for Space Invader, but because I Want to Go Back, because we'd record a couple things, and then we're up in his kitchen. He goes, hey, you know that song, I Want to Go Back? And I go, Eddie Money? He's like, yeah. He goes, yeah, listen. And he played it, and he goes, I really love this song. And I could just tell how much he loved, like, I think he really loved the lyric. And I've never seen him that into like someone else's song and talk like that. Like he loves Hendrix, and he talks about different people that he's, he grew up listening to, but like, he just had such a connection to that song. And he goes, I really want to do it. I go, well, then let's do it. He goes, yeah, I mean, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Come on, let's go do it. So we quick with his engineer, Alex, worked out an arrangement, which I think is basically the same thing. And then I cut it once or twice through, and that was it. It was great.
Cool.
It's good. So I like that song.
Now, so when you go on tour with Ace, now do you guys travel together and like rehearse and do sound check together? How does it work out? Do you have, because you guys don't come from all the same spots, right? So you meet up at the place, or what happened?
Yeah, we all get flights to wherever, and then we end up meeting at the hotel. We don't rehearse. I don't know when the last time I rehearsed. I think the last time I rehearsed, I rehearsed with Ace in 2012. That was it. We rehearsed twice for the whole show, and then I never rehearsed with him again. With the new guys, with the Nashville guys, we rehearsed for the Kiss cruise a few years ago, because there was like Dark Light and Torpedo Girl and all this stuff that he had never done, which I never played with those guys. I knew it was going to be fine, because I'd heard him, playing with Ace and with Gene, and I knew they were great. So, but that was that. And then we rehearsed the 78 solo album that we did a couple of years ago. We did like 2 days of rehearsal. Other than that, we've never rehearsed. So we will usually do sound check. Ace usually won't be there. Sometimes he might show up if he wants to try something new, but he just needs his marshals and his vocals, and like, there you go.
Right.
So so we do travel together, but yeah, that's kind of the day to day.
I got you. Now, you mentioned the 78 solo show. I went to that show out in New Jersey at the Expo, and did you guys have to prepare for that a lot? Because I know a couple of those songs, right, had never been done live before. So
yeah, I only played Rip It Out and New York Groove and Snow and Snowblind with Ace. I think we did What's on Your Mind originally when I rehearsed with him, but other than that, he's never played any of the other ones except for Speeding Back to My Baby. So Need a Love, Fractured Mirror, he never did. Wiped Out, which is, I can't believe I volunteered to sing and play drums. So I didn't have to do too much rehearsal, because I already done my rehearsal in the early 80s when I was playing along to that record every day after school. But I did have to work on singing and playing drums for Wiped Out, which is kind of funny. That it's like a really percussive vocal, and then I learned that Anton actually co-wrote the vocal with Ace, which makes sense because the phrasing is very rhythmic. So that was a lot. That was a lot to do. But as far as preparation for me, not really. Again, I did listen through the tracks and make sure they were as I remembered them. But right. I played that record so many times as a kid.
that is my favorite album of all time. The '78 solo album is my favorite album of all time.
It's a magical record. Yeah,
Really
I
is.
got it right.
Now, how did it come to be that you were singing? Did he have to, because he has to take a break, or how does that come about?
No, I knew he wasn't going to sing that. There's so many lyrics there, and it's almost like a rap, the way it is. So I said, hey, I'll sing that if you don't want to do it. And he was like, yeah, cool, do it. So that's how that. Again, after having worked with him for so long, I figured he wasn't going to sing that. So I just let him know I was up for it.
Now, that night, Ace said that he was going to be performing that entire album again in a studio and try to get it put out on a DVD. Do you know if that's going to be happening?
Well, we didn't do that. I know there were some plans to do a live performance of that, and but we didn't end up doing that. So I don't know if at some point we'll do it again. I mean, it was, it made sense because it was the 40th anniversary.
Right.
So we'll have to see where it ends up.
All right. I saw you guys in 2019 play at the Vault at the Greasy Luck Pub in New Bedford, Mass.
Yeah.
And that night you played on a special drum kit. It was something to do with Billy Squier. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so that was Bobby Chenard's kit, that custom pink color, his set of Ludwigs. His nephew Roger.
It's right there.
And I
have
had
a
become
picture
friends.
of it right
there. Yeah. His nephew Roger and I had become friends online, and I was just such a fan of his uncle's drumming. And he'd said one time, like, "Hey, if you ever want to play that kit, I'd be happy to have you." Let you play it, and no one had played it other than Bobby, and I guess Roger had played it a little bit, but we took the heads off for the first time. Yeah, I have one of the heads in my office. That was the original head that Bobby had played, and yeah, it was great. It sounded beautiful. It's really, really awesome.
That was cool. So 2021, it's here, and will you be working on Ace's studio record? I think he's working on a studio record now, or he's going to be. Will you be on that?
Yeah, he was down in Nashville doing that, and then we're gonna be doing some recording. I think very soon. We've been texting, and so I don't have any news, but yeah, I think pretty soon.
Oh, cool. Now you're doing something that I think is really awesome. For up and coming musicians. You have the Matt Starr's Masterclass, and how did that come about? And can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the master classes are something I started doing during the pandemic, because when I go on tour, I do workshops and speaking engagements all around the world. But I'm not traveling and I'm not in person, so I'm like, how can I still do what I do? So we started doing the master classes. I've since stopped doing those. But I do coaching, and I have a couple different courses that I've been doing. The most recent one's called Remove the Block, and teaches people how to identify and walk through and move past their blocks. So for me, I discovered Kiss at age 8, saw Kiss Alive 2. I was like, boom, that's it. That's all I want to do. But fast forward to age 35, I just was not doing it. I was playing music, but I wasn't living my dreams. And I went through a huge transformation, and that's what that course is all about. Being able to recognize what actually was holding you back. That changed everything. And within 9 months, I was playing with Ace, and that was kind of the start of my career. So that's what I teach.
Oh, cool.
Musicians and non-musicians. I have I probably have about 15 clients right now, but they're all different walks of life. So usually about half are typically musicians, but have other people that are in all different kinds of work.
Now, how would somebody sign up for that or get involved with that?
Yeah, you can just go to my site, which is Matt Starr Coaching or just mattstarcoaching.com. You can message me there, or you could email me, mattstarcoaching@gmail.com.
All right, cool. And
yeah,
is that also where people would go if they wanted to? I know you do the drumsticks and the drum heads and the all the equipment and stuff like that.
So that's Matt Starr Music. at gmail.com. But I'm really accessible through social media, so all my accounts are public, so they can just send me a message or send me an email at any one of those places. It all gets back to me eventually. So either any one of those is fine. But yeah, we have signed bass drum heads and signed custom drumsticks, and that's been fun too, because as a kid I was a collector of stuff. So I know, especially with the Kiss fans, they're such collectors of things. So it's been fun to get to kind of connect with them on that way.
Right. Now I saw the stuff. It's really awesome stuff. And then you do those personalized autographs, which I think is a very cool touch. So if anybody wants to get
everyone is personalized, and every once in a while someone's like, I don't want you to personalize it, just sign your name. They're like, I hope that's okay. I'm like, yeah, it's fine, whatever, it's yours, so whatever you want.
Also, you do tracking sessions with independent artists. Tell us about that. Somebody can have you play on their album? Is that how that works? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I've probably for the last 7-8 years I've been recording drums for people, artists around the world. I originally had someone from South America say, I want you to play, I wish you could play drums on my record. And I said, oh yeah, well, if you can come to LA or I can go there. I'm thinking, why do we have to do that? I have a studio that I use every week, and he's got gear. I'm like, I can just record them and then I'll Dropbox them to you. So we did one, and anyway, I've been doing that for a long time now. So it's a really simple process, and I've been able to make records with people. I mean, the new Minefield record, which is with Todd Kearns from Slash's band and Jeremy from Ace's band, we all recorded separately. You know what I mean? So like a lot of this stuff that I've been doing has been leading up to this pandemic, and so I kind of didn't. I mean, it was a pandemic. That's not great, but considering that, I've been able to just keep working and making music with people. So yeah, again, if someone wants to talk about having me play drums on their record, they can just send me a message, and I'd love to hear their music.
And that's for anybody. You wrote a song, you need somebody to be a drummer on it. Yeah, you would do that. They just contact you.
Yeah, I tell people you don't need to be famous. You just need to be serious about your music and want to have a great drum track on it.
All right, cool. That's pretty much all I got. I'm going to be putting all the links to all your stuff in my description. And thanks for joining me on Rock and Roll All Night. Today's my birthday, so this is a great treat to have you on.
Happy birthday, brother.
All right, thank you. All right, well, thank you very much. And see you on the road, hopefully.
Yeah.
Soon, I know,
yes,
exactly.
Yes. Yeah. I think by the fall, I hope. I think that's realistic.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks so much.
Cool. Happy birthday, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking me to do this. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a good one. Thanks.
Okay, you too.
Rock and Roll All Night brings you interviews, reviews, concerts, music, and more. So for more Rock and Roll All Night content, click subscribe.